Hello and welcome to the Daily Atheist Morning Show. It is Tuesday, the 7th already, 7/7/2020. It is this, Tuesday. Good morning, everybody. I hope you're doing good. I hope you had a good yesterday. I hope you have a good rest of the day. I have got Andy Hall, a writer and comedian from Laughing in Disbelief. He's also from a blog post. He's got his Laughing in Disbelief Twitter, Instagram. Go check this guy out. Good morning, Andy. How are you doing?
I am doing a little rough around the edges this morning, sir, as you can probably tell by this. But overall, I'm here.
That's
and I'm
okay.
Ready to go. Ready to go.
It works. The hat works. Yeah.
I hope it does, because what's underneath the hat isn't pretty. I'm going to tell you that right now.
I haven't got your COVID cut yet.
Well, I did get my COVID cut, but you see, I've been up since 3 o'clock in the morning, approximately 3
Put it
o'clock
back on, brother. Put it back on. You're scaring the viewers.
So I was up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I did my blog post for the blog Laughing in Disbelief. I did a couple of jokes on Twitter. And then I went for my morning constitutional walk while listening to the Joe Rogan podcast, the episode where he's talking to Jon Stewart, which is great, and everyone should listen to that. Okay. And then I came back and I figured out, wow, it's 7 o'clock. I'll just go down for a little nap. And that brought me to about 15 minutes ago. Here I am.
There you go. Yes, conscious, barely.
Conscious, barely.
I want to say good morning to everybody in the chat. Hi, Kristin. Christian, good morning. Best name ever, and the Blazing Wizard Pope. Neil, good morning, buddy. How you doing? Epileptic Skeptic, Stephanie, Derek Cruz. Lots of people are here this morning already. Good morning, everybody. Let me roll up here. And Chris Miller does me. Howdy.
Good.
Wes Sturdivant was here, and Ian Davenport. Good morning, people. Nice to have you with us this morning. Of course, I have got the amazing Andy with me. Andy, Maynard Saves. Hey, brother. I'm gonna do a. Hey, Andy, have you ever seen the movie Snowpiercer?
I have never seen it. I am interested in a world where the human population is on a really big train going to nowhere.
Yes.
That's what I'm interested in.
Yeah, I know. It sounds like a mad, fun waste of time. But it's actually, when you watch it, it's got a lot of tie-ins to the old Willy Wonka. And there's a video you can find. No, I know, it's crazy. Who'da thunk?
Are there Oompa Loompas? I mean, I've got to ask you, Chris. Are there Oompa Loompas?
And see, that's one of the deals. They got some of the poorer population lives in the back of the train, and occasionally they'll come get some of the children and bring them up to the front of the train.
Right.
To do because there's workspaces where normal sized people can't work, and that's where the Oompa Loompas, this show, it's a YouTube video, presumes that they used to have Oompa Loompas, but they're not there. Matter of fact, I think the main guy, the bad guy, or whoever, it's been a while since I've seen it. He even says the people we used to have who work these they're not with us anymore, so we need these kids to do it. So there's a lot of tie-ins to. It's interesting. Very
Chris, I was afraid that there'd be priests at the top of that train, because you were saying they're bringing all those kids up. And I'm like, this could get dark really fast.
There's no time for romance. Good morning, Trina DeLuca. How are you doing? Nice to have you with me. Hey, Andy, this is the thing I did. I don't know if you noticed this or not, because I didn't actually send Andy the links until this morning, and the only link I sent him was the show link. I didn't actually send him the link to the YouTube. So what the topic for the day is, surprise, is atheist comics or atheist comedy skits, stuff like that. Who is your favorite? Do you people have? Of course, mine naturally up at the top of the list would have to be George Carlin.
Yeah.
And
George
how he
Carlin.
railed upon religion.
Yeah.
So do you have a favorite?
I grew up watching Dave Allen. I was talking about this on the Free Thought Profit podcast. I mean, George Carlin is just a given, but Dave Allen, we're men of a certain age, Chris, and Dave Allen had this TV show, and if you just Google his name on the YouTubes, you'll find all these lovely clips of him just riffing on religion. It's fantastic. I've also been watching Ricky Gervais's, going back to TV. I've been watching Ricky Gervais's Afterlife. And what's joyful, and I don't find much joy in life, Chris, because I'm a comedian. I create joy. I'm not really a consumer of joy. That might surprise you. But I enjoy Mr. Gervais's epic atheist rants during that show, or at least bullet points for atheism during those shows. Yeah, that warms my heart quite a bit.
He's good. I enjoy it. Lenny Bruce, Willie Ignorant. Good morning, Willie Ignorant. Good morning, Justin from the EA show. Nice to have you with us this morning. I want to talk about that, by the way, as well. You know, as you're talking about being a creator of joy, not necessarily a consumer of joy, that actually, I mean, you're like the Eeyore of comedy.
I try to be. I think that's my song. That's my little, song here that I sing.
The song of your people.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. I've got a list of things I want to visit about. It's the EA Atheist. Of course, we want to talk about. So the topic of the show is favorite atheist comedians or comedy skits. Throw them in your thing there, and we'll visit about them as we go along during the show. People in the comments, go ahead and put them there. But I want to talk briefly about the show. There was a thing about the Jimmy Snow who changed the name of his show from this to this, and then of course the Raging Atheist did this, and I was like, dun 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 dun. It made a lot of sense, and I did it, but I'm not really happy with it. I'm not content with the damn show. I like it as a nickname, right? But I don't particularly care. For one, I don't particularly care for it, and I don't think that it's helped my statistics at all. The change to the damn show. So I'm probably going to change it, not necessarily back to the Daily Atheist. I'll probably change it back to the Daily Atheist morning show. You guys who are still with me don't care. Nobody cares. You don't care. You don't care what I name my show. But it's going to be more, I'm going to do that. You won't notice. I'm just going to do that back to the way it was. I will go continue putting all my scripted content, like Andy, you were talking about having serious interviews and recorded things and stuff like that. My Evil God Monster of Abraham, I'm going to continue putting those things over on the Chris Mallard channel. This will just be for the Daily Atheist morning show. Just like it is. It's just, I'm not really content with the damn show moniker. I mean, it's all right, but I don't think it helped me where I thought it would help me, and I just don't like it as much as I thought I would. So,
well, I gotta tell you something about creativity from what little I understand about it.
Yes.
Is that when you come up with an idea, you have this afterglow. Yeah. Right? You have this I just cracked the atom. This is the best thing in the world.
I just had a stroke of genius.
It might just be a stroke. You might just have a little bit of caffeine. And the thing is that when you actually bring it to market, let's say, when you take that idea and either you tell the joke or you make the change to your name to the show, or you do anything like that, all of a sudden you just hear crickets. Like it just isn't working out the way you thought, and that's common. That's just a common experience, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to worry about it. It was something I thought about. I weighed. I'm not happy with. I want to change it back, but then I'm just going to I'm going to do the scheduling. I'm going to get people on the show. I'm going to work the show just like normal, and I'm going to let the Daily Atheist morning show take care of itself because it's fun. Yes. I like doing it. It's not very difficult. I just got to, after the show, do some wrap up things. As long as I do those things, it'll take up, and it'll only take like a little bit of my time in my day. And I'm going to start, once I get some ducks in a row, I'm going to start focusing on creating those scripted videos for the Chris Mallard channel, the Evil God Monster of Atheist type stuff, because the wife just loves those. I love those. They're fun to do. But I'm also going to, as I've mentioned several times, I'm going to start another channel that is going to be a sci-fi review. It's not really going to be atheist related at all. It's just going to be me reviewing sci-fi, doing sci-fi stuff.
I have two things to say, Chris. I have two things to say. One, about the Blazing Wizard Pope. He says, I actually hear that, as in the comedians have difficulty laughing at other comedy. The thing is with me is that, and I can only speak from my own experience, I am deconstructing the joke about thinking about why it's funny and how they're doing it, or I'm actually being impressed by their timing. Let's say I was listening to a couple of comedians earlier today, and I'm going, wow, what great timing. I see what they did there. I see why they waited for that half-beat pause. And so, yeah, that does take you out of the Billy Connolly's great. But that does take me out of the moment. And sometimes I don't get to laugh while I'm thinking about the deep structure. Deep structure, I sound like a tosser. The deep structure of the joke. That's what it is. So that's my first thing, referencing to Blazing Wizard. With you, Chris, once again, I think we have these conversations every once in a while that I am concerned that you might be overextending yourself. You're talking about the third channel, sir, huh?
Well, we can think about it as the third channel. But yes, we can do that. Good morning, Nakasuchi, the Rage. Nice to have you with us this morning. Yeah, we can talk about the third channel. Really, the first two channels, the Chris Mallard and the Daily Atheist channel, those are the Damn Show channel. Those are really in my brain one. They're all, I just click between one and the other. They don't. The other one is indeed going to be completely separate. I'm going to have a completely separate PayPal, Patreon, everything for the Sci-Fi Review. It's not going to be atheist related at all. Period. Yeah. It's not going to be. I'm going to tell you guys over here on the channel who like sci-fi, hey, you want to come over and check out this review channel I'm doing? It's going to be fun. Now, is it going to be a daily show every day reviewing a sci-fi episode? No. I'm not falling for that shit again.
You know what? I'm going to say this too. From what I've seen from other creators, Steve Shives started doing. Good guy. He's been on my channel. He started just talking about Star Trek.
Yeah.
And it's one thing to talk about sci-fi in general, or however people say it, SF sci-fi. Mm-hmm. But I think in terms of reaching a real rabid fan base audience, if you focus in on one particular show that has a huge fan base, that might help.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm very passionate about Star Trek. I know a lot about Star Trek. That's part of the deal. As we go through these things, the smart thing to do. Okay, so you go over to Twitch and you want to grow a Twitch following. Do you pick a game from 10 years ago that nobody plays that you like, and you start playing that game? Or do you play the latest cutting edge game that has just come out? Which do you, well, it's kind of the same thing with me. Do I sit there and start with, random episode reviews from the first original series of blah, blah, blah from a long time ago? Or do I start talking about episodes like in Discovery and just start with Discovery Star Trek and go, this is why this show sucks and you should love it? And doing my thing on that episode by episode, because it would be nothing for me to watch that episode and then just rail about it afterwards. I do it anyway.
I would really look at Steve Shives' channel and just see what he's doing.
I've never heard of Steve Shives. I'll have to check.
He's a good guy, Steve Shives, and yeah, take a look at his channel and see what he's doing with Star Trek. It's pretty good work. Jimmy Carr is fantastic. I heard Jimmy Carr's someone asked Jimmy Carr one time what his most over-the-top joke is. And I'm not going to tell you what it is because it's really over the freaking top. It's really hilarious. And it's wrong. It's wrong.
It's wrong.
As the day is long. Gotcha. And if I say it, because I know it because it's so wrong, Chris, you're going to lose subscribers right now if I said the joke. I'm not gonna
no, we don't want to. We don't want. Hey, we don't want that.
We don't want that. No. So that was from Best Day Ever. She mentioned Jimmy Carr. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well,
and I have to tell you, I mean, I'm gonna pee on the third rail here, and I'll say that coming at comedy originally through script writing and making small comedic videos, Woody Allen was a big influence on mine, and he made some really good films and has a really good sense of humor. And he made a big influence on me in terms of how I think about comedy.
Absolutely. Best Name Ever, or Blazing Wizard Pope mentions Mel Brooks made some awesome movies. Mel Brooks was, I don't know that, I guess you could call it atheist comedy, but yeah, it was just fantastic. Yeah.
I mean, I showed my kids Young Frankenstein a couple of years ago, just when they said, and I just want to point out that Carl Reiner died too.
Yes,
Carl Reiner died, and I wasn't able to talk about it actually on any of my own material shows lately. But he was in Sid Caesar's freaking, the show of shows, and that's where he met Mel Brooks. That's where they did the 2000. If you haven't seen the 2,000-year-old man bit, you can Google that on YouTube too. And it just started off as these two guys, Reiner and Brooks, just riffing. Mel Brooks would play this 2,000-year-old man. Carl Reiner would just ask him questions. He played a straight man, and they got a record deal out of it. And it really helped propel their careers. Besides, of course, being on Sid Caesar's show, the show of shows.
Yes.
So Reiner created the Dick Van Dyke Show from his experiences on Sid Caesar's show. I'm going a little deep on this, but hey, hello, JD Angel. I'm going to just call you Angel because that makes it easier on my mouth. So, yeah, it's a pity that Reiner is gone. Yeah,
let me help you out.
And you know, he would hang out every night with Mel Brooks too. They had a really close relationship.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know that. I didn't know Mel Brooks and Carl Reiner. I mean, I just
okay.
I never
I'm sorry, I lost you for a second.
Yeah, I'm not that old.
They had a very close relationship.
I'm not yet 50. I know.
I'm just yeah. So I got a few years on you, but also being more comedy nerdish, though not a deep Jedi Master nerd. True. I listened to a few Mark Maron interviews with Reiner as well as with Brooks, and both of them very close relationship. I believe Brooks would just drive over to Reiner's house every night, and they would just hang out through the evening.
Can you imagine how fun that place would have been every night?
Oh yeah, and now that Reiner's gone, you got to feel for Mel Brooks because his best friend is gone.
Yeah, and Mel Brooks is getting up there. They're of course.
Oh, they're 90s.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, Reiner I think was 98.
Yeah, he was very old.
Yeah,
and his son. What's his son's name?
Meathead. That's who his son is. Who is it, Rob Reiner?
Oh, yeah, Rob Reiner.
Rob. I think a lot of us from once again a certain age found Rob Reiner as Meathead from All in the Family, another show which he really can't make today because it's so over the top.
Yeah. There would have to be adjustments that would make the show not the show, I think.
You know what? I'm going to tell you something about Blazing Saddles, and I found this out on a YouTube documentary or a YouTube video the other day, that they actually made a TV series for Blazing Saddles.
Did they?
But they never aired it. And the reason why they made a TV series for Blazing Saddles is because Mel Brooks never wanted a sequel to Blazing Saddles, like a movie. He never wanted to. So he put in the contract with the movie studio that if you ever make a sequel, then it has to be made for TV first. There has to be a TV rendition of Blazing Saddles, which he thought was this poison bullet, right? We're losing viewers right now. I can tell as I get into this into the week.
No. You're doing. We have very wise, educated viewers who love learning stuff. So continue dropping knowledge.
Lou Gossett Jr. was actually playing the Cleavon Little character, the main character, and they made all these episodes of this movie. It's called Black Bart is the name of the show, and the movie studio did it specifically so that they could make Blazing Saddles Part 2, which they never did. So that's crazy. So somewhere in Hollywood, there are all these canisters of film with unaired TV versions of or a TV version of Blazing Saddles. Now you may say to yourself, that must be a horrible show, and from what I saw of it, yes, it is. It is a horrible show because all the funny stuff they took from Blazing Saddles they had to take out for network TV.
Oh yeah, well, I remember one of the things I remember. Excuse me while I whip this out.
Oh yeah,
and they're all. I love that show. I haven't seen. Of course, I ought to go watch that because that would probably be a jaw dropper. Right now, a lot of the things we watch.
I was just watching. Just reading Best Name Ever's comment about Jerry Seinfeld too. Yeah, Jerry Seinfeld. I saw his last special, 23 Hours. I don't even know if I talked about it here on this show. I know I talked about it on Vincent Freeman's show about Jerry Seinfeld. What's funny about Jerry Seinfeld is that he comes off as being very kind of buttoned down and not angry. Like he's not Sam Kinison, right? Sam Kinison literally just yelled at the camera.
Yeah.
But Jerry Seinfeld, he yelled for the entire special of 23 Hours, but he did it in that Seinfeldian way that you don't realize he's yelling at you for a solid hour. He just does it comedically. It's like a stage whisper, except it's a stage yell. So he's yelling in this comedic way. And it's just Jerry Seinfeld being enraged for an hour, but in that special Seinfeldian way that you don't realize he's yelling at you. I thought that alone was funny.
Yeah, I've never seen. I missed all of Jerry Seinfeld's shows. I've never seen the show. I think I saw one episode where maybe two. Something about the guy with his wallet was so big he was having back problems or something.
Oh, right. That was George with too big a wallet. Sure.
I saw that, but so there's a lot of comedy there that I've really missed. So I need to get back and watch that one.
Yeah, not all seasons are created equal in Seinfeld. Some seasons are better than others. They had, the thing is, and Jerry would tell you, Mr. Seinfeld would tell you himself, is that back in the day, people were allowed to experiment with the ingredients of the show, to play around with the characters. So you didn't have to have a hit on day one, episode one. You could kind of find your way. And so they tinkered around with the formula a bit, found what worked, and then it just took off, I think, and maybe in the second or third season, that's when it really started hitting. But they were in the wilderness for a while.
Yeah, that kind of, I talk about that as far as sci-fi shows. Usually the first season's fairly rough, and then they find their feet and their voice, and they do a good job, if they can survive that. So I guess it's kind of the same way. But like I said, this whole, I spoke the truth, Stephanie. That is true. I'm very, despite all that massive amount of Seinfeld content, I haven't watched it.
Blazing Wizard Pope pointed out many shows that got written, cast, and recorded, but got shelved. You're right. There is development hell. That's the term in Hollywood. Is that you're somewhere in development, man, and the money runs out, or someone. I was talking with Ian Harris, who is on our show here, and Ian had a deal over at Netflix, and then one of the executives left. He just left Netflix, and the new executive came in, and he didn't want to do what Ian Harris was doing, and so there goes the deal, just like that. So it's a very fickle business, very fickle.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Stephanie. She's going to keep watching, even though I've never. Yeah, she's going to. I may be dirty. I'll wash myself later and watch some Seinfeld.
Right. Well, you're naturally funny, and that's what's important, right?
There you go. Yeah. Maybe I would get more funny. I would add, sort of like I tell my wife, with the sci-fi, every show she watches or every movie she watches, she has a Dune badge. She's sat through Dune. She has Star Trek badges from all the Star Trek series that she's sat through. I need to go get me a Seinfeld badge for my comedy stuff, because I really should. I was watching Friends at the time. I had a girlfriend, she liked Friends. We watched Friends.
Well, I'm going to forgive you for that, Chris.
I'll try.
I'm sorry. I know a lot of people like Friends, and the thing is about comedy, it's like any other form of art, right? It's one of those things that some people are going to like certain kinds of shows, other people aren't going to like certain kinds of shows. I was never a big Friends fan. So I will say, I will admit this to Les and Blazed Wizard Pope, and this is a sin that I carry with me that I hope to make better. I hope to resolve, is that I've never seen a full episode, wait for it, of Red Dwarf. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm going to go flog myself for this, and I know it's necessary viewing. It's on the list, guys. It's on the list.
It's very high on my list too. I've got, because I've been told all the sci-fi nerds who really love it tell me it's good, so I'm going to watch it. Matter of fact, it may be part of that other channel I was telling you about. So yeah. So, and about the getting overworked, I get that totally. Well, I've about got the Daily Atheist morning show down to where it's run the show every morning for an hour and a half, do a little half hour's worth of cleanup afterwards, links and stuff, and that is to take care of the show. It takes care of itself beyond that, that frees me up with enough time to work on either more content for this show or the other channel, which would be the Sci-Fi Review channel, which I feel part of the deal about that, man, is I just feel I can just talk about that shit for hours and hours and hours.
Yeah.
So So,
well, it's the old adage, and it's kind of hacky, but I'm going to say it. Right. I mean, if you love what you're doing, then this isn't working. Like when I woke up at like freaking 8:45 this morning and I threw on this hat and my hoodie, I'm like, I don't find me talking to Chris every Tuesday as work. When I was up at 3:30 this morning doing a post on my blog, cheap plug, Laughing in Disbelief, about Donald Trump ordering foreign students who are going to stay in this country. They have to be dead. They're going to stay in this country, riffing on that whole ICE thing, which we're not even going to talk about ICE right now because we're talking about comedy. That wasn't work for me, Chris. This is just something I love to do.
I've got your meme up.
Oh, the meme.
Showing
right?
the meme, yeah. So that's a meme. that
school, man.
Our Andy Hall created for us. Well, for a meme.
For general consumption, sir. For general consumption.
That's exactly it. Whenever I started the Daily Atheist Morning Show, listen, guys, I'm an atheist. I'm an atheist all day long, every day. I love atheism, I guess, humanism. I used to be really passionate. I used to be really into it, but whenever I started the channel, it was like being schoolboys, being drugged towards school, to make me do it. Then I finally did the morning show, and you kind of got to do it. And I actually enjoy the morning show because I get to visit with other people in the community. And once I got out of being over the fear, blah, 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 blah. But the sci-fi, I just love it. I can sit here and go, all right, I'm going to turn on the thing and I'm going to blah, 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 blah. And I just think I could do that. Then can I create a channel? Would I be able to grow a channel much faster doing sci-fi than I can doing atheism?
Yeah. I just want to talk to Tons of Mice here for a minute. I grew up watching Space 1999. Let me tell you that right now. And I was watching a few of the old, of course, they're all old episodes. I was watching some of the old episodes on Amazon Prime the other day. Classic stuff. It's classic stuff.
I vaguely remember that.
Well, it's about the moon being blown out of orbit in the year of 1999 because, in 1999, we have a moon base. Chris.
Yes.
We have a moon base.
Hats off, sad souls we lost at the moon base.
And then they just blow off into deep space, apparently faster than the speed of light because somehow they're out of the solar system within 2 days or whatever. And but it was a really fun show.
Gotcha. Yeah, I haven't seen it. One of the ones that we're gonna do more of on this show, and I kind of need to get a little caught up on is Doctor Who.
Doctor Who, yeah.
Doctor Who will probably. Did you, Tom Baker?
I grew up, of course, Tom Baker, right? Rabid Tom Baker, Doctor Who fan.
Me too. Tom Baker, wonderful Tom Baker. Love me some Tom. All right, so now back to atheist stuff in comedy and other things. Something that struck my brain was not necessarily well, I don't know. And how about in art, atheism in art or whatever? House. Have you seen House?
I've seen a few episodes. It was just one of those things. I can only consume so much content.
Right. Of course. But when you get to be your age, surely you've seen a lot of things.
Well, don't call me Shirley, sir. I felt like I had to throw that down.
House has got a couple of great quotes. Usually during encounters with people of faith, he'll throw something out there that's quite House quotable. I should have prepared some of those. Let me get this down from here.
But Hugh Laurie, yeah. Actually, my Jack Maturko, Satanist extraordinaire, he chatted with Hugh Laurie one time at the American Atheist Convention, and Jack actually knew about Laurie's jazz band that he had out. And so the two of them got to have a very nice conversation about his record. Yeah. Really? Which I had no idea he was a musician until Jack came back from having a cigarette and said he was hanging out with Hugh Laurie talking about his musical career.
Yeah. Well, I suspected based on some of the things I saw while he was doing the House show, I suspected he could play an instrument or two. I didn't know he had his own jazz band. I've seen him do comedy with Stephen Fry back in the 70s or 80s.
Well, he was, what was it? I found Hugh Laurie through Black Adder. And if you haven't seen Black Adder, it's Rowan Atkinson. It's not Mr. Bean Rowan Atkinson. It's Rowan, very verbal and freaking hilarious. Hugh Laurie's at it. It's off the chain stuff. If I'm going to use one of those terms that the kids use today, off the chain stuff. It's really funny. That's how I found Hugh Laurie. And I think you can generally tell how old a person is by how they found Hugh Laurie, or when they found, what series they found Hugh Laurie in, and how they know Tim Curry, right? Where they found Tim Curry. I know I first got exposed to Tim Curry probably in the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Rocky Horror Picture Show, yeah. Yeah. Me too. My second encounter with him that I remember was he did the voice of Hook on the Peter Pan cartoon series back in the 90s.
Actually, I have a cunning plan. I'm going back to people in the chat here talking about Blackadder quotes here. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Great stuff.
I have a cunning plan.
I have a cunning plan. That'll come up in my regular everyday conversation every once in a while.
Gotcha. You know, I've never seen that. I'll have to go. I love me some Rowan Atkins. I think he's
brilliant. He's brilliant.
Brilliant. Yes. There's this thing he does where he comes on as Toby the Devil. Is that right?
Yeah. He does that whole shtick, right? He does the whole speech.
Yeah. Toby the Devil. That was.
yeah. I thought that was.
Well, also that was not today. That was 20, 30 years ago that he did that Toby the Devil thing. And the reason why I mentioned that is because I feel it was a lot more difficult 20 or 30 years ago than it is now to be an out and out atheist or to poke fun at religion. That's how I feel. So for him to do that was more risque than would be to do it now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Of course, I don't even know how we could be talking about this without talking about Monty Python, right? But I showed my son The Meaning of Life. You know, he's 18 now. I probably showed it to him about 3 years ago when he was 15. And it was like slapping him across the head with a wet fish. You know, it was just, you know, you have every sperm is sacred, you know. Of course, there's some top up naked ladies too. One of those scenes, which was kind of shocking, but yeah, just really intense comedy for him and throwing him somewhat into the deep end of the pool. But every sperm is sacred, you know. And then of course you have other movies like The Life of Brian. Oh, hilarious.
There was also, speaking of the Every Sperm is Sacred, the Woody Allen movie, Everything You Ever Wanted to Know About Sex.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
If you people have not seen that, in that movie, you actually have the opportunity to play a sperm. Who they're like, okay, we're going. No, we're not going. We're not going. We're going. That was good. I love that one.
Yeah, fantastic stuff, man.
Yeah, of course it didn't have anything to do with atheism, I don't think. Well, no, didn't have anything. But Monty Python, that was stuff that the British comedy I didn't get a lot of when I was a kid.
We were lucky, you know, being in the Northeast, we had you know, a lot of people of Irish descent, and you know, more of I think a connection to the British Isles. And so we would get like Dave Allen, we'd get late night stuff like for Monty Python. Yes. And yeah, a lot of people my age, you know, stayed up late to see that stuff. The Rage is saying Monty Python is my favorite shit of all time, and Holy Grail was my childhood.
Yeah, that's what I was just reading. Me too. Holy Grail was the kind of the only really experience I had with them. I think.
Okay,
yeah.
Sure.
Of course, that was brief when I was young. I can't remember. I couldn't tell you. I was probably 7 or 8.
Oh, that is young.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of the humor, you know, the good thing about something like the Holy Grail is that it's so silly. Anyone can enjoy it, right? The horses with the coconuts, because they couldn't afford horses. From what I understand, the budget did not allow them to have horses. Yeah. You know, I don't know if you know this about the life of Brian, what is it? I think it was The Life of Brian that they lost funding for the movie. And George Harrison actually supplied them with the cash for actually making The Life of Brian. If it wasn't for George Harrison, that movie would never have been made.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know he stepped up for that one. I didn't know he was a fan of the show.
Well, you know, you get the impression that all these British smarties who were alive at the same time kind of knew each other, right?
Right.
That they ran at least in overlapping Venn diagram circles. So,
true enough.
They had difficulty because, of course, it's just looking at the script, I imagine, you know, studio heads would think that it's the third rail of material, right? I mean, funny guy, sure, but can you really do that? So yeah, it was George Harrison that made that movie possible.
That's wonderful. Speaking of British
by the way,
comedy,
George Harrison was a Beatle for you younger people.
yeah, Beatle, yeah. Benny Hill was one of my early experiences with British comedy. I remember a lot more Benny Hill than I do. Well, Benny Hill was a series. It kind of every now and then I could catch on
the
TV in the evenings. Yeah. It was, I think maybe the reason why the Benny Hill stuck out is because they very often had the scantily clad females. They would do things with scantily clad females. And
the Benny Hill is one long Me Too moment, when you really think about it. In today's,
it really is. Yeah.
Seeing, through today's lenses. Benny Hill. Well, it's a very different form of comedy, right? Because that's all slapstick. It's all physical comedy. No one's saying nothing in an episode of Benny Hill. And people typically kind of go into one or two broadly defined fan comedy. They're either slapstick or they're more rhetorical, right? They're more verbal stuff. So you have someone like Jim Carrey in like The Mask, for example, all slapstick stuff. Mostly slapstick stuff. And you have Benny Hill, slapstick stuff. The Three Stooges, slapstick stuff. And some of that can be very smart, while, then you have the Life of Brian material, or you have the George Carlin material, which is just, funny, just music to the ears.
Yes, yes. Well, I enjoy the slapstick-ish comedy a little bit.
Oh, really?
Or for a little while.
Yeah.
But it's not something you'll find me going out and actually looking for. I used to drive out in the oil field, and I would love to have the comedy channel. From the satellite, they had 2 or 3 comedy stand-up comedian channels. Love those things. Mitch Hedberg was one of my favorites. Sad loss. We lost to him. Yeah, he was lost. But so I used to really enjoy doing those things. Monty Python is fish slapstick, according to the Blazing Wizard.
Yes,
good morning. That hence the fish to the face. Good morning, Paul Cammish. Slapstick comedy. That was whenever I was really young. Damn, I would see that. Was it with Super Dave? Any of you guys remember Super Dave?
Well, he's passed now. Super Dave's no longer with us.
I did not know that. Really?
He had a regular bit, spot on Curb Your Enthusiasm by Larry David. Super Dave was on there, and Super Dave passed, I think, within the last year or two.
Really?
He's getting up there, and
I'm looking him up. Super Dave,
yes. He played, I forget who.
It was Super Dave Osborne, wasn't it?
Super Dave Osborne. I forget which character he played on Curb Your Enthusiasm. And the parrot is dead. It is no longer. So a little background for those of you who don't know, I just pulled up some information about Blackadder. First and fourth series run of historical comedies written by Rowan Atkinson and Richard Curtis. Blackadder tells a revisionist tale of events at the end of the British Middle Ages. And then, of course, it goes through different iterations, right? With I think the last one was during World War I in the trenches. Great stuff.
Okay, really? Super Dave, you were mentioning he died. He did die.
So. Yeah,
January 2nd, 2019.
2019, yep. Yeah, I remember hearing about that. I was really, bummed out.
It says Einstein, his name was Bob Einstein, and Einstein's comedic depiction is of a naive but optimistic stuntman who is frequently gravely injured when his stunts go spectacularly wrong. And that's what I remember about Super Dave Osborne.
When you look at something like Curb Your Enthusiasm, I'm not telling anything that's secret. You listen to anyone who's on this show, they'll tell you this, is that they only have a basic idea about what the scene is about and the characters, because they're all professional. They've been doing this kind of work forever. They just kind of ad-lib, they improv the scene. And so a lot of that is just real, fresh, in the moment material. Yeah,
I missed a lot of that. I guess where I saw Super Dave was on Bizarre, that ran from 1980 to 1985. That's where I was familiar with him. And another one of those shows that if I could catch it.
Sure.
And it says it was a Canadian sketch comedy television series. John Boehner? John Banner and Purdue. Yep. So it looks like a boner. Leave it to Andy to take it below the waist.
That's what I do.
But at least you didn't break into one of your fantastic masturbation stories. Or
I'm not going to talk about it. Well, yeah. I mean, you could. But why would I inflict that on people, right?
Good morning, Bench. We got quite a few people showing up.
Have I ever told you about my masturbation and chili story, though?
You didn't. You talking about like as in Chile the food or Chile the country?
Good question. I'm glad you're on your South American geography there, Chris.
And it could be both.
It could be both.
It could also be a red pepper or a green pepper of Southwest.
It's not. Well, the thing is, when you make chili, I'd like to use all kinds of different kind of hot stuff in there. Gotcha. And the only thing I'm going to say that if you are going to masturbate after making chili, that you have to wash your hands
very severely. Yeah.
Really. Can I put in another really?
You
really
can.
Well?
You should, actually. In fact, you should.
Because let me tell you something. Pouring milk on your phallus because it's super, super hot. It's very embarrassing. That's
chemical hot or temperature hot.
Because it is. Well, it's similar. If you've ever rubbed chili pepper into your eyes, it's the same. It's the same feeling down there.
I could imagine.
It's the same. It's very bad.
I've never had solo romantic interludes with myself after creating foods of a caustic nature.
What my story, as many of my personal stories are,
okay,
a tale of caution and a tale of not to do with your life. This is it. This is what you should not be doing, and that's wanking.
Hey, we don't king shame here.
No.
That's the deal. So, yes. Tons of mice said Super Dave was on Letterman back in the day. That's true. Super Dave kind of made the rounds as a character. That's one of the interesting things kind of about the day. You knew the character and you might not know anything about the actor. Let's talk about Andy Kaufman. Yeah. Lotka. How many people loved Lotka, yet Andy hated Lotka and was just hated doing Lotka, but he had to do Lotka because of this. But whenever he didn't have to, he damn sure wouldn't. But we all love Lotka, right? I love Lotka. Lotka was my favorite.
I think we've talked about this before, and God knows, you seem very knowledgeable on the subject. Indeed, Paul. Indeed, very knowledgeable. The thing is, you will talk to most artists, comedians or otherwise, and they will say that the most creative thing, the best thing that they have ever done is never the thing that makes them money, or very few times it's the thing that makes them money. So the idea that he hated doing the thing that probably made him the most money or gave him the most popularity, I'm not surprised at. It's
I would need to go. I crave the opportunity to go back and watch The Man in the Moon.
Oh yeah,
that was a good flick.
Well, it's out there.
I don't know how. For those of you who are unfamiliar with it, it was of telling of Andy Kaufman's life. I don't know how accurate it was. I'm sure it was fairly close. As could be considered as portrayed by. You said his name earlier.
That guy that we were just talking about, who was in The Mask.
The guy who was in The Mask. What's his name? Jim Carrey. Jim. I'm sorry if I forgot your name, brother. Jim Carrey. It was Jim Carrey. Jim, if you're watching, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Moving on. Good morning, Jason from Dragons in Genesis, the Dragons in Genesis podcast. Thank you for joining us this morning. He's a lot of fun. I've had him come on the show. You know what? And again, I'm ready to get you back on the show. He's got a lot of stuff. He just purchased another book of knowledge, and he's going to consume that book of knowledge, and then he's going to expound that wisdom. Thus,
talking about Mr. Cammish. Cammish, is that the right way? Am I butchering his name in my Boston way that I do?
No, not Paul Cammish. We're talking about Dragons in Genesis podcast. His name is Jason.
Oh, okay, Jason.
And Dragons in Genesis. He's got a really good podcast. He was on my show.
I mean, I'm going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons. Is it like an ice dragon or a fire dragon?
There's this hey hey, Jason, what's the name of the guy's show? It's not Dragons in Genesis. There's a guy out there, a Christian religious nutbag, who has something, Miracles in Genesis or something. And Jason's channel or podcast is a response to that. So I'm sure they'll post it to us. I'm sorry?
James Carey. I was brain bug was just saying. I think he goes by Jim Carey.
Jim Carey? Does he? I've always known him as Jim Carey. Never. I don't know. James Carey. Jim Carey. Jim Carey. Funny some bitch. Some movie, I never could get through his movie Answers in Genesis. Thank you, Blazing Wizard Pope. I knew if I waited long enough. It's Answers in Genesis by Ken Ham, I think, is the guy who does that. So he
Ken
started
Ham.
a podcast.
Yes, Mr. Ham.
The Ham. Hamming it up. So he did, Jason did this Dragons in Genesis podcast, and it is quite popular, rolling along. He does a good show. He's a lot of fun. No, it was a Friday. We had him on our show. He actually did this show one day, and he was just dropping all manner of knowledge, and he's got this, he's in his, studio looking thing, and he's got his thing, and he's doing great, and he's got his headphones that sound like, and at the end of the show, we found out he's actually sitting inside a big rig. He's inside he's inside a big rig at a truck parking lot area on their Wi-Fi doing the show. Had he not said so, I wouldn't have noticed.
Right.
Yeah, dropping the knowledge. So he got a new book. Yes, Ken Ham. He got a new book that he's going to get, and he's going to do a new podcast about the thing at the place with the stuff. So if you're not a subscriber of Dragons in Genesis, pop over there and give the guy a like. He's got some good stuff. We'll have him on the show again as soon as possible. And then, of course, now I want to say tomorrow on the Daily Atheist Morning Show, I'm going to have Christian Watkins from...
Christian Watkins.
Well, he was on my show about a month ago. I'm like, oh, yeah, hey, nice to have you on the show. And then they're like, this kid's 17. I'm like, no, I had no idea. Well, he's turned 18 now. He's of age.
I'm not going to go anywhere near that, Chris. Just keep going.
Yeah, so we're going to have him back on the show tomorrow. Now, tomorrow is normally Weed Wednesday. I'm probably not going to talk a lot of Weed Wednesday with a kid who just... that's not really my goal, is to talk weed with kids.
Tell me about Christian and what does he do?
He's all about atheism and creating atheists. Yeah, because that's not, It's just happened to be on Wednesday. So Christian is I think it's the Illinois, it's Wisconsin. Wow, no, it's Wisconsin. I forget, brother. Let me look. Hey, I got it right here. Anyway, he runs this Facebook group, and he's a member of the atheist community, trying to build his community. And he's been on our show a couple of times. Well, once. And anyway, he's going to be back on the show. But that's kind of part of the point. Let me find it right quick. Of Wisconsin. The atheist. Yes. Okay, go ahead. The Atheist Society of Wisconsin is who he's a founding member of, and he's also a member of American Atheist. So he is going to join our show tomorrow, but it's going to be a short show. I got to go to the Fang Doctor at 8:00, so I got to beat out of here. But I'm gonna do a half-hour show tomorrow.
You talking about the Tooth Doctor? Talking about the Tooth Doctor?
Yes.
So what really, is that safe? I didn't know what was safe. I didn't know if tooth doctors were safe now because of the apocalypse.
I don't know. Well, they weren't for a while, and then of course I'm in New Mexico. I guess it probably varies depending. Right. Oh, they sent me a thing. They sent me a thing going, oh, have you been sick? I guess I should respond. I have not been sick.
Yeah, right. I just watched, Vesta was saying about the Bricklayer's Lament, classic British comedy. I don't think I've seen that or exposed to it, or it's not even on my radar.
Me either. Well, we already talked about the two different kinds of comedy and Britain just slays them all. Really, if you ask me. I think British comedians are hilarious. They're my favorites. They're just, we've got our Robin Williams, and he's Canadian. Isn't he Canadian?
I have no idea.
Anyway, but the British guys are I've always enjoyed British comedy, British stand-up comedians, British TV shows. I've always thought they kind of held the top on stand-up comedy, if you ask me. Yes, definitely. Thank you, Trina DeLuca. I'm feeling better. I'm doing the thing. I did not get the cooties. I went and got my guts that gutted me like a fish, and I'm better now.
How are you feeling, Chris? Because we actually haven't talked since the incident. I'm sure that you've talked about this on earlier shows, but how are you feeling? Feeling okay? I know you're shifting a little bit now that we're talking about it.
Well, I do shift a lot anyway. It's kind of, maybe I don't know. My chair. I sit funny in it too. I cross my legs and then I uncross them and then I sit up and I sit back. So it's not but I am feeling better. They did gut me like a fish, and they did the thing at the place. There was lots of prayers, thoughts and prayers. That's what makes it all work, really. Sure. And so they did that and they put me back together again with super glue.
Good.
Yeah, super glue.
So you're all glued up, you're feeling good? You're basically walking around doing what you normally do?
I'm doing, I don't know. I'm still very tender from the surgery because I don't know if I don't know if I told you this or not, but they gutted me like a fish.
I had the same surgery like 20 years ago.
20 years ago, right. Did they use leeches or how'd they do yours?
On my face. I don't even know why they were doing it on my face, but they did. Crazy.
Yeah, so I got bruises where they went in, but I'm doing better. One of the things though, and this is just a funny psychological thing for me. Good morning, Santi. Nice to have you. It's just a funny psychological. Oh, Ed Chirac, I'd like to get you on the show. If you do shows like this, I'd like to get you on the show. I saw you on somebody else's show yesterday. I'd like to get you on the show. Yeah. So one of the funny things is when they did the thing, they stuck a thing in over here and they kind of rooted around, and they stuck a thing over here and they rooted around and they stuck a thing in the center and they rooted around. It bruised me up and kind of left me a little bit of swollen. So my stomach was swollen. Now I knew this. They're like, oh, your stomach. And I looked down, I'm like, wow, my stomach's pretty swollen. So I put ice on it for a couple of days and I kept waiting for it to go back to being flat.
Yes.
My stomach's never been flat. It's been, this dysmorphia thing in my head. I'm like, what's wrong with me? Where's this? My wife is like, honey, that's just your stomach. I'm like, oh, I'm just fat. It's just my carefully cultivated dad bod.
Right.
That's what it is. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, Chris, I don't know if it's dysmorphia, if there's something really wrong with you.
Well, that's true. No, but there's nothing wrong with me now. But like my love handles, they don't maintain themselves. That shit takes effort. Yeah, and I gotta ask, at what point does it go from being handles to a rail? If it goes all the way around, now is it considered a love rail rather than a handle, or how does that work?
I have no idea, dude. I just know that I'd be the fattest kid in Auschwitz. My body has no muscle mass because of my disability, my minor disability, which wasn't always minor. But I would be people would be walking around 1944, 1943 and go, how are you so fat and so thin at the same time? It's like, just genetics, my friend.
Yeah. Lucky who? Lucky you. That's who got
no lucky. Muscle tone. That's the secret of fatness.
A complete and absolute lack of muscle tone. Well, see, and that's one of the deals I want to do. I'm 48.
They have an online calculator for that, Chris. In case
48. Do they? I'm 48. So I'm thinking I'm still young. I got to work out and get my Arnold Schwarzenegger, my Thor on. Get my Thor. I'll be all.
Well, Thor. In terms of gonna share some old guy, even though I have horrible muscle tone, I do try to work out, and I try to keep this from deteriorating any faster than it is. So doing some basic weights as well with your cardio will keep you intact in the long run. Yeah.
Well, I'd like to do some cardio and get my heart up because that's what the cardio thing is part for. I need to, and we need to walk the dogs. I got to walk some dogs. I got 4 dogs, not 1 or 2 or 3, but 4 dogs.
You have 4 dogs, Chris.
Yes, I know.
4. So once again, it's amazing that you have as much time as you do to this when you have 4 dogs.
Well, they're pretty. They're fairly self-sufficient.
No, that's good.
Yeah, I clean up. I do poopy patrol. I got my old man. What is it? What are they called? They're a type of shoe. New Balance. I've got my white old man New Balance shoes that I only wear when I do poopy patrol because we refuse to buy.
Good Massachusetts brand right there, New Balance.
We refuse to buy them anymore because they're owners or right-wing religious nutbag or something.
I'm going to tell you this. My girlfriend bought me a pair of Vans. She just happens to like the brand. And those Vans have lasted me quite a while. And I just wear them practically every day. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. good pair of shoes.
You know, Vesta Freya wants to point out, just kind of changing a subject here real quick, that if you convert to base 16, I would only be 30 in hexadecimal. And see, that's not wrong. That's not wrong.
Hey, that's pretty cool.
You know, I was actually thinking about measuring my weight in kilograms because I'd only be like 100, 105 kilograms.
I think you should just use moon gravity. Just cut your weight by 1/6. And
oh, that's genius.
Oh,
I like it. You know, this is how much I weigh there. How much do you weigh? I'm like 96 pounds. They're like, really? I'm like, well, on Mars. That's how much I would
Mars. What's up, KCA Randy? See, did I jump on you with that one? Is that what you wear? Good morning. Very good.
Yeah. Good morning, Randy and Oz. Nice to have you both. We're about to shut off the show. I'm going to go do the thing. And Andy's always got stuff to do because it's Andy's got grown up. He's got grown up people stuff to do. But so if you're not familiar with Andy's stuff, go down and subscribe. I got a link down there, but really Andy's got the Laughing in Disbelief. Find him on Twitter. Find him on Instagram. He does Instagram. He is actually giving me kind advice as to how to manipulate and use Instagram and stuff like that. I don't know if my brain will absorb it correctly or not, but go follow his stuff.
You know, Chris, the secret is that, as you've noticed, I only drop nuggets at a time. I don't throw the whole stuff out there. It's like
tiny nuggets too.
To absorb it, think about it, work on it. I will say I'm going to have Professor Ben Davis on my channel tomorrow, Laughing in Disbelief, at 11 a.m. He's a nuclear professor of science stuff.
Okay.
That just came out as a bunch of words, but we're going to be talking science and nuclear and physics and all kinds of fun stuff. So that's at 11 o'clock tomorrow.
Wonderful. Awesome. And, you know, if you want a reminder, swing by and remind us during your show, and we'll send folk your way.
All right. That's great. I appreciate it, man.
To be honest, as I said, I'll be running a half show tomorrow, because I got to go to the Fang Doctor. So tomorrow I'm gonna have Christian Watkins with me from the atheist community. He's an American atheist and also the atheist community of Wisconsin, and he's gonna be on the show with me tomorrow for a half show. So I am off to save the world. I gotta say thank you to everybody in the chat for joining us this morning. Brainbug, Oz, Native Atheist, Vesta Freya, Trina DeLuca, all you wonderful people. Kristen, thank you for joining us. Everybody, The Rage, Epileptic Skeptic, thank you all for your time today.
It's been a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun.
You guys are awesome. Thank you very much. And we will see you tomorrow. Have a great day.
Take care.
Thank you for watching the show. A special shout out to my gold level Patreon supporters, the Blazing Wizard Pope, Ian Davenport, Cindy, PLAZA, and tons of mice. Thank you and have a great day.